afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Eric. I'm joined with Coinless, and uh, this is Road to Oblivion, a series of ladder matches to play Oblivion on the Sentinels Multiverse game. So the good news is we've beaten all the villains. I mean, that's a round of applause, and if I was
Mhm.
a better streamer, I would have like that
Yeah,
automatic you know
excluding the
applause.
alternate modes,
So. So
the
yeah,
weird modes.
well, we played a few variants in there too. So some variants that we had unlocked already. So that
Mm.
was good. But so now the road to Oblivion is clear. The next one we're gonna do Oblivion, and I think we're gonna do Oblivion in what? I'm gonna throw it out there. We'll brainstorm it. Next Wednesday.
Yeah, probably earlier in the day if possible, since it's gonna be a long one.
I think we're gonna play earlier in the day, and we'll go from there. And we'll do an Oblivion run, and we may or may not get our butts handed to us. My vote would be is to for us to throw our S tier team that we've
Yeah,
developed and see how well they fare.
yeah. The
Um,
team we had last, like the ones that we used to just kind of blitz, was pretty good.
I mean, it blitzed three or four villains pretty quickly. So I think it's why not try them?
Mm.
So, but
With
before
good
so
healing too.
Yeah, so before we get started and in tiering, listing out all these tiers, I just want to let everyone know we do this in support of Extra Life. I'm going to put a link in the chat. And Extra Life is a charitable organization dedicated to helping sick kids during the hospital stays. Feel free to click on the link or go to extra-life.org and look up Team Rabbit Haberdashery. We have several different team members representing several different hospitals across the United States. Find one that resonates with you and donate. I'm representing Radies out of San Diego, and Coinless is representing Bay State out of Massachusetts. So, but we have several different team members on the team that are representing multiple locations. So, uh, feel free to click the link in the chat. All right. So villain tier list. Let's get down to the gritties. Um,
Before I think we even start, I think we should make a comment on what we're actually like grading them on, like
ooh.
whether
Okay.
it's difficulty or if it's like how interesting, and I think it should be like on how memorable slash interesting they were to fight. Like just because someone's really hard doesn't mean they were like an interesting or a good boss. You know what I mean?
I think it's something where it's challenging and they were memorable, and we'll leave it at that because there is the ranking system of 1 through 4, and by and large, I think that's pretty accurate. Like, I don't think they're terribly
Yeah.
inaccurate. I
So we're
think
ranking them on memorability and kind of like interest level, how cool they
memorability
are.
and challenge. I feel that like we should not have someone in the S tier that's like a pushover. Like, I don't feel like that unless I don't know. I mean, I think this is where the debate
It could
comes
be
in.
like just a super fun character, like the fight.
I mean, so I think in the course of a conversation for each one of these, we're gonna like grade their like, okay, what were the people that created this villain thinking of, and was it a good premise, or
Yeah.
was it just like we need another villain? Let's just let's put together Crayon Man or something crazy like that. Um, I don't think any of them was that outlandish, but I think some were more memorable than others, and
For me, I've now fought them all once. You fought some a few more times at least, so
this
you
is
might
true.
have a
This is true,
better grasp of them.
but like, so I'm gonna throw it out there for as a conversation piece, like Iron Legacy. We'll start there because
F
I think he's
F
very
tier,
memorable. However, our
not
fight,
memorable at all.
but the fight
Very
wasn't.
forgettable. No,
But
it
I
was.
think he
We
had
beat
all
him
these
once.
he had all Legacy's powers at like once. So I do think
Really?
he did. It just we he was very. I think what makes him a lower tier is that his health pool's like 35 or something like that.
He's
Um,
a
uh,
glass cannon, but he
yes,
had some pretty. He had a lot of damage resistance. I don't know where we're starting with Iron Legacy.
I
It's
just
like
threw it
if
out there
we
as a
go.
conversation piece.
Alright,
Um,
well we'll talk about Iron Legacy when we get to Iron Legacy. Let's stick with the top of the list.
Oh
You put them in this order too, so it's
no,
not like you can
I
say.
just that was just way they loaded, so I was just throwing them
Okay,
out there.
well, I think we should start with Gaia, it is, or whatever they're called. I can't
All right, we're
remember.
gonna start with Gaia.
Yeah,
It's Asabuka, Buta.
they're 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 literally just the planet made man. They're Gaia,
I think
Krakoa, basically.
I
Orbiting planet.
think what I remember is just the HP sponge of 200.
They're not.
It was
They
not
take a bit of time to actually fight, and they mess. I think they,
it,
much
th-
like their like character counterpart, they mess with the environment pool.
right.
So
So
I think I'll give them a point. Okay, how I think I'm gonna do this is I think we should probably like D has means they have nothing. And then for
D is a
every
polite
like
way of
say there's
saying
like
that they're a failed villain concept in my mind. D's like
yeah.
they were not
I think what
functional
we
or
should rate it
fun.
off of is like a 4 point system of design.
Oh,
Uh,
you're getting technical. Okay.
I'm just trying to think of ways we can bump characters up. Like
Mm,
1 point would be for is the character interesting, like on a design
I
standpoint.
think we're
2 is the character interesting on like a mechanic standpoint,
okay.
and then the last one would be what like how did we feel fighting? Like did we felt like it was a memorable fight? Like did it
So,
retain in our heads? And then S tier is like whatever. But like 3 point system vaguely. We don't need to follow it one to
okay.
one, but
So good concept, good execution, and then did we have fun, or at least we were entertained?
personal opinion
Oh,
basically.
okay. All right.
Personal take.
So I would say B's probably right because I do think he's this Asabuka Buta is a good character design, or like good character as in like good concept. I think as a villain, he was a HP sponge. I did not have fun with him though. So I think like he
Uh,
gets 2 out of 3 points because I think it was a good concept, a good design. I just didn't enjoy it. I don't remember going, ooh, this is a fun fight. Like it was a
I just never
slog.
felt strongly with them. They were like it was a longer. I enjoyed the fact that I didn't have like we didn't just beat him super fast, and it wasn't like he was either like hard blocking us from winning with like a random mechanic or doing something crazy. It was more of just like he's just has a lot of HP, so he just takes a bit longer, and he has
Right.
I think he have minions. It's been so long.
I don't think he
Did
had
this over
minions.
months though.
I think he didn't have minions.
Terrain manipulation
I
though.
think he was just if you and you probably get I think your mileage varies if you have different environments. I think this is a villain that
Yeah,
like if you give them certain environments, I think they can be much more challenging and in certain environments they're
but
just
that's like
pushover.
about any villain
You
really.
could, but I think there's probably a disproportionate amount of environments that work to this guy's favor
I
than
just feel like this guy, like, well, Gaia basically they override the um the environment, so it kind of actually nullifies a lot of the danger. I think that's how they work. So because they kept like they function like the card character, and they would like manipulate the deck.
so my vote is B, and the rationale
I'm
for
fine with B.
I'm
I think B is solid.
my vote's B just because I think that's solid. I don't think you can convince me to get the A, but I don't think it was a C. I mean, but I might shift a little bit as we get along. So, Ambuscade,
I feel like they're a D for
a
me,
D.
honestly. I don't remember them at all. Like
S-
I look at all the others and I can remember like something from them, but like Ambuscade is like he's to me honestly, I was like, who is he? And I'm like, oh, is he the drug guy? And I'm like, oh no, he isn't. Like I literally was mistaking him for the one that's lower down,
Right,
like
right.
the second row, like
Spite is the one that
Spite. Yeah,
yeah.
like Spite. Because I was like, oh, yeah, Spite was cool. And I'm like, wait, he's not that guy at all. But he has a like, he doesn't have like a really interesting design. He's just kind of like generic army soldier masked Deadpool guy, number 47.
Right, he's Deadeye. He's like we're
He's like Deadeye. He's like Deadpool. He's like Cable. He's like every
no, but
like he just doesn't.
Deadpool breaks the fourth wall. Like Deadeye is
Yeah.
more of just like I'm a sniper. I'm
Well,
good with
he's like
guns.
the old Deadpool that nobody liked because Deadpool was like originally a very serious character. It's like, oh, I'm a, and then he actually became like a merc with a mouth, and then people liked him. He's like He's like pre-good Deadpool, which no one really cared about.
I
Just
didn't
like
know about Deadpool's
generic
origin
mercenary,
story. Yeah, yeah, like.
generic mercenary.
Well, I think that's because Deadeye in the DC universe is just like that's all he is. He's just a good sniper. Like he
Yeah,
likes guns. He's
and
a gun
but
enthusiast.
I don't.
That
He wasn't. I'm gonna give him a D just because I honestly didn't feel anything
I
for
don't
him.
think he's that challenging. So I remember him a little differently because he was the first DLC I got. I think he was the first DLC pack. So I had him for a while before I started really getting into DLCs and all that stuff.
He was a DLC character. I thought he was just like a generic or original that was like we just tossed him in
No.
here because we think it's a
No,
good
he was
idea.
the first DLC pack that I got, but he was like it was like I think you get
Okay,
like two villains, or no, you got this villain, you got two heroes, and Mr. Fix It was like one of the
have you
villains.
ever gone? You know that guy was interesting. Maybe I should try and fight him again, see if things turn out differently. Ever
What
been like that with that guy?
what this guy?
Ambuscade, yeah. Ever get
No,
that?
because well, I
No.
fought him before we got involved with this, and then we fought him with this. And my big thing I was trying to point out was that like before what I didn't really know this game, he did provide me a challenge and he beat me the first time because I was really I mean, I got him like almost the same time as the core set, so I was slightly. It was like, oh, let me try a new villain, and I didn't get him. But now he's a complete pushover. Now that I understand the game better, and you understand the game better, so like
I don't
I
even. What was his? Do you remember what his mechanic
his
was?
mechanic is he just has weapons and he shoots.
He has guns and
He
he
has
shoots.
guns. He has
Okay.
various different guns, and he does various different attacks. But like, if you don't know how to synergize a team at all, like,
So
then
if you're like absolute trash,
kind of.
then
If
he's a
you
challenge.
or if you have a team where yeah, where you have a team of people that don't synergize at all and none of the core heroes like the B and C team heroes, I think he'll give you challenge. Or you don't know the game well enough where you don't know how to bring a team together. Like I think he gives you a challenge. But if you have any concept of that, that's why I think ultimately I think he belongs in the D tier because I like his concept, but his I mean, outside of serving, like you need some easy villains in this game. Otherwise, if they're all complicated, like the learning curve would be too steep. And I think he does serve that purpose for the game's
Well, that's
purpose.
what Baron Blade is. That's where Baron Blade fills the niche. So I won't accept that cop out of he's the easy one for you. It's like no, he's a DLC pack.
Right, but
He's a
not all the DLC packs need to be like harder. At
they
least
don't have to be hard, but I'm just saying like I feel like that kind of trivializes the he's an easy learner character when you would have to buy an expansion. And by that point you should have at least fought Baron. Baron Blade, I if you said that for him, I would give you that. But for a DLC add-on character, I won't accept a well, he's a good learning beginner character because he's not even a part of the core set.
okay, I'll accept that. So, anyways, it doesn't really change. D is the worst rating we have on the scale.
Yeah, he's
So
on D for me, honestly.
here's a fun one: apostate.
Yeah. And we
And
that was a rather
well,
recent,
we
fresh
that was a
take.
recent one, and we lost to him. And so I think he's actually A tier because I struggled with him before I started playing this. And I think you have to bring in certain teams because like we got into that round, we lost because we got into this whack-a-mole game of uh you can't if you kill you have to kill a certain amount of
I
minions, but if you kill his healing minions, then he heals and then they
I
brings
thought it
out
was
his
very annoying
it was an annoying
to
loop
fight
that
him.
you couldn't break
Oh
out
yeah.
of it.
Well,
And he
it was kind of my own fault though. But so that I would actually agree with
I think he's A.
because I think his mechanics are interesting and he adds a level of challenge where you can kind of just you have to hit him, but you can't just like
You
go
can't
brain
AoE
dead and like you can't rely on just a meta and let it go. You have to actually use strategy and
right.
you can't bring anybody. You have to like form a proper team. He has interesting abilities that synergize well, memorable artifact combinations, a resurrection ability. I feel like overall
Well designed.
he has a good, well designed, strong character. Um, a good challenge, but nothing that's impossible if you just read the cards, which you should be doing.
I agree with that.
So I give him an A. Yeah.
All right, so Baron Blade. So where do you think Baron Blade? I think
I'd
this
say
one's tough.
B.
I think
I'd
he's
say
B
B.
low. I would say he's probably in the low end B because he's. I think
I would
he's
put him
designed as
above
the E.
Gaia though.
Okay, above
For
guy.
three,
No,
I'd say above Gaia because well, here's the thing. He is meant to be the quintessential like starter villain. He is the which I and that's why I'm kind of giving him a bit of a buff for is like he's a part of the core set. He's meant to be the introductory character. Sure, he's not that hard, but he has like a good gimmick of like he has artifacts that have HP. Like he has like
he's got
the
equipment, the
machines, different
platforms and stuff like that.
booby
Yeah.
traps. He's not hard necessarily, but he's a well-rounded beginner character with a generic but interesting enough like Baron Blade personality is like Brother Blood. He's generic characters are kind of all like that, but I just I feel like he's a solid B,
I agree
honestly.
with that. I think he's solid. He's fun. He's the guy you break out when people buy the core set and you want to introduce him to the
Mm.
game because you're gonna win. And you get a little taste because odds are if you're beginning a set, you're bringing Legacy and their Nemesis, so you could feel the whole Nemesis system, And I think it's well designed. He's not, but he was never designed to be challenging. Uh,
Yeah,
so with that, Baron Blade's variant, and the
very personally weak opinion. You go.
I think he's the easier version, and I don't know if they intended it because really all he's got is he's actually weaker than Baron Blade. The only difference is if you let him devise his super weapon and build enough time, he wins. Because I think it just does a crazy amount of damage that usually no one can survive. If you've lasted that long in the battle, you've probably taken a hit or two, and it's not going your way. But I think also um, he's super weak. Like I remember crushing him in like a turn or two because he's got low health, and the rest of his other than his super weapon, like he's the villain. You just smack the super weapon out of his hand, and he's just a guy that's pissed off. Like that's it, And
Yeah,
that's kind of where, and I kind of like that's my opinion of him.
I say
The good news,
C.
yeah, I think, I put him, I would put him in D. The only reason I would put him higher than Ambuscade because I think his gimmick of like having the villain you have to stop the villain before he creates his super weapons like classic comic book stuff. But I found
I feel
the
kind of
game.
bad throwing him in D because he's technically is a variant of a normal character, and we give the normal character B. So
So here's my thought on variants. And now, granted, Baron Blade's variant is probably one of the easiest variants to get, but variants they made in this game ridiculously difficult to get because it's like
oh yeah,
you have to win this game and only have one health on each hero on a Thursday in September, and then will allow you to get the variants. So they made the criteria to get variants so crazily hard. I feel like they should be worth the payout. Now, granted,
not
his wasn't that
really.
hard, but also like not that challenging. I think the only thing that gives him better than Ambuscade is that his stop me before I finish my super weapon is worth mentioning as like okay, that was the premise
Yeah,
for
but
this
he's
character.
literally like weaker, so you don't
Yes.
even get to it very often because
And
you kill him so fast.
right,
Paper
because if you
mache.
know, yeah, if you know the game and you have any team that can muster anything, you're gonna beat him. So, um, anyways,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll leave him there.
liquid metal Magneto one.
I don't remember her that well, so I put her.
We fought her once.
And
We
I
beat
fought her
her.
twice, and it's both been not a memorable fight because it was just all like one sided. I want
I like. I think she was somewhat like she had an interesting mechanic to a degree. I'd give her a C because she isn't like I
okay.
want to like her because at bare minimum her design is interesting. I like her design.
I think her name is Choke Point. Yes, it is Choke Point.
Yeah, and she had a decent gimmick. It just didn't synergize well with our team, who basically steamrolled her. I think.
I want to say
Um,
she's just a mere mortal when it comes to DPS teams. So like if you have a DPS team, she crunches very
Yeah,
quickly.
I would say C because I like her design and that gives her a little bit of. D is nothing's good. C is at least like they have something, and I think that her design name is cool.
All right, next up, Citizen Dawn. I'm actually gonna put her.
I
Go ahead. What are you gonna
I
do
was
with her?
gonna say S tier.
I agree. I think she's S tier. I think she the character design is great because she's essentially Magneto leading other mutants into battle. Her
Mm,
invincibility flip is painful to endure, and you're like, it makes you scramble because you're like, okay,
it,
we need to do this. We need to kill these minions, but we need to survive, and we can't do any damage. And then, but once her invincibility's off, like that's when you hit. So like the mechanic and the whole Magneto leading the other mutants against you kind of theme, like so the character
Good
and
character variety, good characters, like kind of memorable character design.
yeah,
At
you
least with her minions, if not
you
necessarily
probably
her
won't. And she's
character
got a
itself.
couple like equalizer cards, which normally I
Hmm.
hate, but like I mean they made her a good villain of like, oh yeah, we're just gonna wipe the cards out, like destroy everything card.
She's
Um,
difficult, but she never feels like she's really cheating you with like something that's completely dumb. It's like
right.
it's annoying, very annoying, but it's like you understand why. It's usually your own fault if something triggers. It's not like
Or it's just
it's like
bad
oh
card draw of like, okay, I
yeah.
just don't need anvil and hammer and or blood,
When
sweat, and
when we
tears to be
fought
on the
her, the
team.
only times we lost was because we got a little cocky and we weren't like really we weren't being as efficient as we could be. And I feel like she deserves S rank because she's a villain that isn't necessarily super hard if you know what you're doing. If you do what you need to do, but
But
if you aren't doing it, you can quickly spiral yourself into a bad spot.
I don't think she's ever a pushover too. I think she's like
No, she
you
never
can
push
beat
over.
her. It's like a good workout. Like you always get a good workout. Sometimes you get an amazing workout, but you're like if you do this routine, you'll never be like, "Oh, that was an easy workout." Like you will always like that's the way I So anyways, I think she's S tier. I think she's going to do very well overall. She's going to be on the podium in my mind by the end of this thing. And she comes with the core kit, and even though I don't think she's ranked the hardest of the core four villains, I think she should be. Like, I don't know. I think she's
Mm,
the hardest of the core villain set too. So
we like her. Okay.
yeah.
Some
Life, L-
Deathlink,
Deathline.
Lifelink,
Uh, was it Deadline?
Link
Dead
from
Link?
Legend of Ocarina, A Quest
No,
of
it says
Zelda. Sorry,
Deadline. His name is
I
Deadline.
can't. For me, they cut off a little bit.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm looking up the actual original art that I uploaded. I don't know why the tier list thing cut it off, but it's Deadline. Now,
Anyways, yeah,
he is a villain that does turn to the side of good. So we have those villains that are heroes as well. So, um, where would you put him? I'll let you start.
well, I know his I think one of his mechanics was he had like linked people or he linked stuff together. So that was an interesting mechanic. It was like something that we didn't play around too much with because we killed them pretty fast. But like it it isn't. I think it's enough for a C rank, if nothing else. Because he was memorable for his kind of interesting abilities. We didn't get to see too much of him because I think he just got really bad card draws. Um, and
I
if you're pull a bit from admittedly, I'm pulling a bit from the character itself, but I think the mechanics itself were interesting. Oh yeah, he had the. Oh yeah, you need this. The villain did the whole thing where like he would nuke the terrain, and I think we actually lost to him, or was that
No, that was the
Celestials?
environment. That was a celestial tribunal.
Okay.
I no, I don't think he nuked the terrain. I think the environment did when we played him though.
But no,
Uh,
like he one his gimmick was he destroys the environment, and then if he destroys like enough of it, we lose.
I think
So he had
so.
like a countdown, and so I think that was interesting. I would put him above um
Choke point.
point choke point, because I remember more of him.
I'm fine. I'm not gonna fight it too much. I think I want to say he had like this life steal ability. I think that was the one thing that I remember him for
Yeah,
was that like I don't know if he stole it off his own minions or he stole it off us, but I feel like he had ability to heal himself a little bit. And it was like annoying. It wasn't like got in the way. But it's fine. I think for me, he was very forgettable, but that's fine.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I think he's C tier. He's not like complete trash. He was somewhat interesting.
okay. I won't fight it. I feel that
Yeah,
for me, I'm finding that C and D tier, like, um, they're so close. Like, C and D
yeah.
tier is like, C is the only distinguishing from D tier is you have one redeeming thing. And that's where, like, Baron Blade's very unlike, you do have one, but, no. Like, I think,
It's a variant, so
yeah.
it gets a minus.
That's right.
Anyways,
It got the debuff of -1. So Gloomweaver,
Dream,
Dreamweaver.
uh,
I think
E tier,
I think it's Gloomweaver is his name, not Dream.
Gloomweaver.
Even though
I
it
said Dreamweaver, but yeah,
Even though I think Dreamweaver,
that's a song at least.
well, yeah, but
Gloomweaver.
what do you think?
I think it's a D tier. I mean, yeah,
D.
I know it's a one, so the rest should be easy. I mean, the only thing I can really remember, I mean, the only thing I remember about them at all is the fact that we made fun of them being like,
Oh yeah, I
what was
remember
it?
that
You know,
battle where he was not if we were he did not do anything, but we still lost. We
yeah,
lost because
it was the
the
environment. I
environment
think.
was just mopping the floor with us, and we were just completely like, he's just
He
there
just stood there.
shopping or whatever like that.
Yeah, I think what it was is he was the person we fought when
The
we
lava
had
people.
the lava farmers, and so that was the joke was so it wasn't even him, it was the terrain, because he was just sitting there, he was like defending the people, he was like chilling with them as we were like the actual baddies because we were playing the
That's
full
right.
villain team.
We were, and
I
I
I
think
kind
people
of
on.
want to give him C tier, like low C tier, just for the meme, but he's kind of high D tier if anything, nothing else.
I want to keep him D tier because if anything, I expected more out of him. Like I do think
Yeah,
like the character design, I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be
yeah.
cool,
I will
and
put him at the top of the pile though for the joke.
I feel like that's true. But I feel like he's D tier because he was just like conceptually, it's like, oh, he's gonna be a good villain. I think they even scored him higher as than like a one. I don't think he's a one. And I was like, no,
Really?
this dude's a one. Like if you have it open, check it. But I'm kind of like, I think he's a one.
No, yeah, I think he is. That's what I was. He was really weak. He was one of
So
our last ones. That was
well,
why
the
I pointed
last
it out.
ones, I see
Yeah.
what you did. So we'll leave him there. Grand Warlord Voss. He it's
Honestly,
so
you
s-
go.
so he's part of the core set.
Mm,
He was the first one I was introduced, and really what he's about is medium high HP, and he has minions. He just throws lots of
mm,
minions, and this was the one I learnt on when I played the physical card game because essentially Mark introduced it was like, look, this guy just has minions. He's got like 90 health or something like that, but he's got minions. But that's it. Like all you're doing is he's just a wave of minions. So I think that was his design when they came out with the core set of like, okay, we're gonna have the easy one, then we're gonna have the one that's like harder, but not like complicated. Um, it's just get your DPS and DPS the minions and then DPS him a little bit too.
where
Um,
would you put him?
I put him in B tier, but I put him in front of all the other B tiers right now because I think
I feel the same way.
I don't.
I like his kind of concept. He has a doomsday,
Yeah, he's
dark side kind of vibe.
yeah, he fills that need, and I feel like he's almost like Thanos without the glove in my mind. That's kind of
Yeah.
where he's just Thanos pre-glove.
He's a
He's
bit of a budget Citizen Dawn though, but I mean that's why she's an S and he's an B.
right. So I think that's a solid place. He comes with the core set. I think you have solid fun. I think okay, I've taught you the game with Baron Blade and you won. Okay, then he's the next guy you fight if you have just the core set. I think
Yeah.
and you still have a good time. You still have a good time. So,
Hmm.
Iron
Okay.
Legacy. Here we go.
Wait,
So,
wait, Iron Leg. I'm on like the goop guy.
Greek
The
guy?
Green Lantern, Infinitor.
Oh, okay. We can do Infinitor first.
You just use on my. I don't know if it's on
Nah,
Apple with your lineups.
maybe because I moved Iron Legacy in the beginning, I moved him out of the order. So, but
Ah,
okay,
that was
I'll
probably it.
send
I'm
Iron
on
Legacy to the
Infinitor.
end. You don't want to talk about Iron Legacy? Fine. Infinitor.
Okay, Infinitor. Uh, I liked him. Like he had good minions. They were difficult, but they were like, if you thought about how to fight him, you could take him out. Um, he had some interesting like lockdown mechanics with different players, and you could attack that card. So I feel like and he had some personal attacks too. I think he was a well balanced character.
Th-
Um,
This is essentially
yeah,
Sinistro, but green, like Green Lantern.
yeah.
Like I think Sinistro, Yellow Lantern.
Sinestro.
Oh, I thought it was Sinistro.
No, it's. I'm sorry.
Nah, I will not accept that.
I
Sinestro?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Sinestro.
I never pronounce anything right. Anyways, we're talking about the same character at least.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put him in front of Grand Warlord Voss because I do think he has some memorable things. I think he's slightly more challenging than him, but I don't think he's unmanageable. I think he and I think
High B you said in front of
Hi B.
boss.
Yeah, because I
High
think
B.
his character design is a
Oh yeah.
little more interesting and he's got a few
Mm,
extra things, but essentially he's similar because he's just making constructs you have to
yeah.
knock down.
But he is a better boss though. I feel if
He is
nothing
a
else, because
better
he is
Voss. He is a
more
better Voss.
challenging, but like more depth, and the
More,
depth is what really
but not like
sets
too
him
far away. Like,
not too far, but just a bit more depth.
within eye shot of still, yeah.
An extra ankle deep.
All right, Karag Warfang.
Okay,
It,
we put Iron Legacy at the very bottom then.
yeah, I
Okay.
put Iron Legacy at the very bottom just to sort this out because I didn't want to like every turn to be like, oh, you're picking that one next. Oh, you're picking that one next. I'll just anyways. Send him to the back of the line. Karag Warfang. What do you think?
Yeah. I hate her, so I'm gonna give her an A.
A. I'll give her A, but I think she's at the end of the A because I think at the end of the
Yeah.
day we still won by
Low A.
DPSing. So
We did. But
we still won by
the thing
DPSing because
is,
raw
there was.
DPSer because there was one of the four like win the crowd conditions. One of them was just DPS the nuts, but you had the DPS like
Yeah.
over 10 a turn or something like that, which we figured out to do.
I
But
think
I give her
she.
credit that her
Yeah.
mechanic is different than makes you think of like, okay, how am I
Yeah.
gonna win? And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna DPS like
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm giving her a good extra boost just because. Um,
We
the
lost.
fact that well, it's a fact that she wasn't just a character that you had to think hard about. It was a character that like I'm gonna completely like flip the table on how you do combat because
Yes,
you had to like you had to just approach the game from a very different angle,
right.
and
It was not
not a lot of characters do that like to that degree.
true.
Like she's like the peak of like just completely switching the game up. I won't like put her like past high A. She's a low A, but I feel like she does deserve an A tier just for being like, hey, I have enemies, I have other things, but I also have like this very unique mechanic on top of it all that like kind of I feel just pushes her a little bit. She also has like her own like arena, like her own map
She does. She has some
location.
unique animations and graphics and stuff like
Uh,
that. I think
I and there's a lot of detail in like different ways you can accrue points.
yeah, and there's
So
like
it's
and you can hear the audience cheering and booing and stuff
oh
like
yeah,
that, you know. So I think it's more immersive too. So you do feel you get the what's the movie with Thor and
Thor: Love and Thunder,
no, one before that.
Thor: The Dark World,
That's not it, is it? No, the one with
Thor:
Hulk.
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. It has a little Ragnarok feel to it, doesn't it? When
Oh
Hulk
yeah,
and
no,
Thor are
definitely,
fighting, like
hundred percent.
yeah. So I feel like it's a little Ragnaroky, which I'm
And
fine with.
that's yeah,
That's a good thing.
I loved the animated that the whole Planet Hulk movie and the original comics. I love. I do feel a bit cheated on the Thor Ragnarok movie because it was a Thor movie when it should have been a Hulk movie. That's a
You're
whole
right.
nother can of worms. names.
Hell, let's not get into the Thor. But anyways, Karag Warfang. Yeah, I'm fine with her
And Thor:
position.
Love and Thunder, that just doesn't exist in my mind.
No, that was just a meme that was stretched out for an hour and a half.
I actually think Fat Thor was better than freaking Thor: Love and Thunder.
Anyways,
A lot of people.
not on this
Anyway,
tier
yeah.
list. Not on this tier list. Kismet, and this.
I mean, friggin' the C Link guy. He's kind of basically Beta Ray Bill, which
Anyways,
is like
I'm gonna make you
yeah.
focus. Focus. Kismet.
Sorry, I went too nerd for. Sorry,
Not on this show. Anyways, Kismet, and this is the variant
the
Kismet. So
variant. I didn't fight that one. You fought him.
no, we both
I was
fought
out
her.
that day. I
We
fought the base Kismet, and then you fought the variant when I was out.
so they're both similar in my mind, and like it was nice to have the variant. I think I I want to say that I would put the variant here, and I put the original one here, and then
You can't see that. I'm on my own tier list, so you just gotta tell me.
oh, okay. So the variant tier list, I give her a C, and
Variant C. Low C or high
I'm
C?
gonna give her a low C, and it's
Variant,
not.
yeah.
I think she was tougher than the other ones on the C tier, but I think her gimmick was a little less appealing to me. But I think Kismet was the original Kismet with the seed that the lucky seed that like all her powers, if you let her keep the seed, she had all the powers, or the charm, she had all the powers.
Mhm.
But if you knock it out of her hand, her powers are like her powers are really like not very amplified. So
Like,
so, so
would you
I
put her above or I would say low B. Would you say above or below Gaia?
so regular Kismet is the lowest B, and then
Lowest B.
and
Okay.
then
Because she's
variant.
kind of like a budget. I can't remember what he's called, but the Dark Angel.
Yeah, and I put the variant as a low C. And part of this might be I just don't remember the battle that much, but also that gets into the play of, well, I don't remember the battle that much, so there you go.
Yeah.
Like, not very memorable. Honestly, I'd probably, for entertainment value, I'd probably put her in front of Asambuka, or Asbute. I don't know how to say his name, because I did think it was
Ah, yeah,
more
yeah.
tension because you're always trying to knock the seed out of her hand versus he's just a damage sponge. So actually, I'm gonna.
I can I agree. No, I'd agree with that.
So it was a little more fun because there was a little more tension of like, oh, we got it. As long as we're not getting it out of her hand, we're doing all right. So that's what we got for there. La
Sounds
Capitane.
fair. I like their name S tier.
Um, I think I think La Capitane, when she turns to the good side, it's like the time traveling swashbuckler. I feel that we didn't play her enough, but I feel like she possibly could be S tier because she's got one or two cards that are like replay. Like I think it was like a broadside, and then she has another card that's like replay this turn, another broadside, and you could just do like you could have two complete turns and do like nutso damage. I want to say that like her hero form was very impressive, but her but she's very B.
Villain
Her villain
boss.
form was very B tier. I don't remember us really struggling that hard with her.
She was. I remember like her throwing out a lot of ship parts, and I think she could throw them onto the allies. Like she would like throw cards onto players, and that was part of her gimmick.
Right.
Um, so I think she was all right. I think I would put her like around the same area as the character we just put down, like probably above Gaia, but
Above
below
Geyer? Okay.
Kismet.
Yeah, that's
Below
fair. I
Kismet.
like that.
Because she was interested. I like her. I like her name honestly more. That's kind of
Yeah, I do think
the
she gets a
Capitan.
boost because I think she fits a requirement that you need to have a villain that's like very stereotypical and like she's a pirate. Okay. Uh Misinformation. We're
I
this is
I
where
like her.
I like her, and this is one of our first ones we fought on the show.
Oh yeah,
I think
she was one of our first.
I think she was the first.
Really?
She
No,
was the
Baron
first.
Blade was the first, I thought.
Yeah, but she's the first on Rabbit
The week.
Haberdashery. Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
because
okay.
she was that was the episode difference. That's where we both started on that. While the week before, uh, we did Baron Blade. But so I
Yeah, we
I
went
think
till like
she.
2 in the morning.
So I want to
The
say that she gets. I want to put her as high B tier, maybe even the highest B tier.
I would actually say I was gonna say low A tier.
I can go with that because I think the big thing is you can't attack her until you have enough clues. I think that's an interesting game mechanic of like
And
essentially
her
it's
one of the
invincibility,
yeah.
but like you can't attack her because you don't have enough evidence to accuse her. And if cards come out a certain way, that can be very difficult because I think you and also the team deals itself damage, and I think that's it discourages you to bring a high DPS team even though you need DPS once she's revealed, because I know we lost matches. We lost a match to her, and I think when I play her, I lost a match was that my team couldn't survive because they were DPS heavy. They couldn't survive long because they're hitting themselves in the face until she reveals herself, or we are able to reveal her, and then you're
She's
like,
interesting.
yeah,
Can't just fight. Like she has interesting mechanics.
you you can't
She's
just
not someone you
DPS
can
her.
just immediately fight them. Yeah, you have to think. I like when they have the cards that actually make you think.
So I agree with that. Um,
It's low A tier. Yeah.
Omnitron. So
Uh. Hmm.
So here's the challenge with Omnitron. Well, one, part of the core deck, um, a couple
Yeah.
gimmicks, and Omnitron is the genesis of Omnitron X and Omnitron. Like, there's so many Omnitrons throughout the
I
series that like this is the Omnitron the first, so you can't really have all that other stuff. Like essentially, Omnitron X is like a time traveling hero god, and it all started like because he's Mark 10 of
like the Terminator system.
right, like he's
I
the jet, but he's like the advanced Terminator that well, this is like T100, and you really like the T1000 kind of deal. Like that's kind of like the sticking point. As a villain, honestly, I think as a villain, it's more like the environment one's scarier than the villain, and then the hero is more
I
ha-
think their iconicness puts them just above Grand Lord Boss.
real. Okay, yeah, I think
Unless
you're.
you feel differently. Because like I mean I feel like their iconic power is stronger, and their like combat and kind of mechanics are around similar to Voss.
I think I put him just below Voss, and the rationale is
Okay.
I think he's iconic like Baron Blade, but he offers a little more tension than Baron Blade. But I think Voss is actually a hard villain. Like I feel like Omnitron, I think on certain card draws can be very difficult, but like on the majority of card draws, like and maybe with some environments where some environments are more challenging, maybe. But I think Voss is a harder one just because he's got more minions and more DPS you have to burn through. But it's been a while since we've played Omnitron. But every time we've
Yeah.
played as a team
I
and
feel
even
like I
inviting
feel
new
like it's
people, it
the same.
a wasn't a lost cause. Like Citizen
Yeah.
Dawn, lost cause with a new group.
Mhm.
Grand Warlord Voss is like, okay, we're gonna work towards it, and you're gonna feel good at victory at the end. And then Omnitron was like a step below Voss. That's my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Next Wednesday. Don't every like people we usually get asked to come on the show. Don't come. Don't come. We're gonna fight this. It's, feels like you're saying like you're gonna put up a sign. No one allowed except us. Just make sure.
I think
Uh,
possibly.
yeah. But I like how Baron Blade, Omnitron, and Boss are all just kind of in this nice little like cluster in the middle of
I
B.
think so. I mean, they're the quintessential Sentinels in the multiverse. Like that's the core
Yeah,
pack, and Citizen Dawn is just kind of like a breakaway. Like when they made Citizen Dawn, they made the
we like
Magneto.
her a lot.
She's Magneto. And if you watch X-Men, you got if you don't like Magneto, you respect Magneto as in like he is the super villain. Like, and he even if we're going to Magneto, like Magneto is a villain you can relate to. You're like, this guy makes sense from his point of view. You completely get it. He's just the opposing side. Like he just looking for mutant equality. Like it's not it's a theme that resonates. So like, yeah, he's against people being discriminatory against mutants. Like you can get
So
behind
on
that.
to Ratman.
So Ratman.
uh,
Um,
he.
I'm
I think he was one of those characters that we were playing against a weird environment, so we didn't pay as much attention to him.
I
Um,
I put him between Kismet and Baron Blade, and I think it's because I think he was technically more challenging than Kismet. And technically, I think he's more challenging than Baron Blade.
well, can
But
you give me your?
Baron Blade is a little more iconic. So I think he loses an iconic because he's the quintessential like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle bad guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
but like, what did he do? Like,
he
he
had
tried
poison
making
damage. He had poison.
plays,
He
poison damage,
he had a lot of poison
rats.
damage. So like what happened was if he bit one of you guys, one of your heroes, they were infected and they slowly lost HP. And some draws that like infectious plague thing would happen a lot, and you would be like, man, this is annoying because your guys are losing HP each turn, whether they're getting hit or not. And then I think if you were infected and then he hit you, you took more damage than if you weren't affected. So like there's scenarios, and I think we lost to him because I think there was a scenario where we were all infected and we were all like let the damage over time catch up with us.
Yeah. I'll give him the right below Baron Blade treatment.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Um,
Prodigy, Liquid,
Prodigy.
T1000, Liquid.
We took them out so fast.
I think I think his character was built really like where they were going with it was supposed to be really good, but they made
Yeah.
him. I feel like he's a glass cannon, and we just like
I actually
shattered him.
felt like he was meant to be really sturdy. Like
Right.
his mechanic was he's a very tanky, but that was kind of it. And because of that, he didn't really have time to shine with his like probably stacking cards since we just like blitzed him.
I th
Um,
Yeah, I feel like the character design was great, but he was hollow. Like they didn't play test him or something like that, or
I feel.
the
Are you
creativity
talking from your
department
for your?
and the game mechanic part was like they were way off. Like they were separate teams. Like the people that created him were like, oh, he's gonna be a cool villain, and then the people that gave him the cards to do that were didn't really like match the difficulty level. Because I think he's rated
Remember, I
as a
think from your.
4 too, and I wasn't he rated like a 3 or a 4, and like
He was a 4.
he's a 4, and
Yeah.
he's the least. Each time I've gone up against him, he was I got rid of him quickly
Mm.
because I think he's just very vulnerable to a high DPS group, and that's I think if you play this game long enough, that's the first thing you learn is how to develop a high DPS group. So I don't know
I
where do you put him? Where do you put him in the scale?
I like his design, but I would say I do like him more than Gaia.
You
I
like
like
him
him
more
more
in
than
Gaia,
Gaia.
but not as
I
much as Capitan.
I'm not well. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. I'm trying to see where I feel like he's in the B tier
I would put him above
range.
Capitan, but below Kismet because I think character-wise, he's cooler character than Capitan. But I think Kismet has is kind of a gatekeeper with quirky, fun little
Fair.
mechanic that you have. Like that charm mechanic was kind of fun and kind
Hmm.
of stressful. While the product, like I feel like he was supposed to have a quirky mechanic like her, but it didn't work. Or we just shut it down we shut him down so effectively that he never had that chance to
Yeah.
do it. Um,
Hypodermic needle Sam time.
Spite. So
Spite. Yeah.
I put Spite in low A tier, and I'm willing to have because I want to say we lost to him. I remember losing to him personally
No,
when
we
I
won.
played.
We beat him first try, I think.
Did we? I
Yeah.
remember losing to him a lot because if you get certain drugs out and certain drug combinations out in front, uh, he's kind of a beast to like whittle down, and he's able to like I want to say if he has some drug combinations where he's able to deflect a lot of damage, and then he's able to deal a lot of damage, and then but I feel like it's variable on his card draw. Like if he doesn't have a good draw or you have a team that draws better than he does, it's a race to a good draw. And
Mm.
I think there's tension there with that, but I can bump him down. Where do you think he goes?
Honestly, I was gonna say because I actually really like him. I was gonna say A tier, like high B if not, and like
No, so I put him at,
honestly, you convinced me to low A tier. You convinced me. I can agree with that very easily.
but
Um,
I think he's high A tier because you're worried about the draw.
high A tier or low to A tier?
Excuse me, low A tier. I think he's low A tier because you're worried about the draw.
Yeah,
Because
he's
sometimes
not.
yeah, you when you pick him, you don't know what you're gonna get, and you might get lucky. And that's less consistent as misinformation's like you can't attack her until you figure things out. So I'm gonna put him there. The
Okay.
matriarch,
Oh wait, Matriarchs? I had the. It's not the matriarch.
the chairman, excuse me, the chairman.
The
You're right.
chairman.
You're right.
It's like
You're right. The chairman.
looking at your
Uh,
stream now.
the chairman.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know why
Mr.
the tier
Moose.
list cuts
Yeah,
it
the
off right
joke we had so much jokes about like the mustache jumping off of him, possessing Oblivion.
there.
That was
That's true.
so
Um,
you
I don't.
I
Go ahead. You go.
I liked the mechanic of how you had to beat his minion before you could get to him. I feel like it was like more interesting than stuff like like Infinidor and Lord Voss. Um,
Okay.
I'm not sure if I would put him. I'm struggling because I'm not sure if I should put him at peak of B tier or at the bottom of A tier because I liked it. Like I think it was original. It was standard separate from a lot of the other characters because it was a pseudo invincibility, but it wasn't really pure. And like you could take her out, and when the cards flipped, it was actually one of like the glorious cards. So
I
I don't.
could put him at very bottom A tier or very top of B
Yeah,
tier.
I
That's good.
I'll say bottom eight tier. I just don't want to get too full, but I feel like that's a. I enjoyed that fight. If we didn't read the card beforehand, I feel like it would have been even more difficult, which is why I feel like they would probably be even higher a bit. But yeah, this is a good spot, I think.
Well, I think it's rated the chairman's rated a 4 as well.
Yeah, there are four.
Yeah, so and I think they earned that title. Like I do think
Mm,
they're a challenge. The Dreamer.
okay.
I am a big fan of the Dreamer because the Dreamer makes you change a mechanic. I like it's essentially the hostage situation of if you do 5 damage, and you can do 5 damage almost by accident with a lot of characters of like oops I triggered this event, or oops I didn't realize that this would go this way, or oh the environment got involved and made me do it, even though she like environment damage can be redirected towards you, but that still hurts because if the environment would have hurt her, you have to get in front of the environment and take the hit. So I think her mechanic and also the concept of like you don't want to hit this child, you're just trying, they just have superhuman powers. So I think they're A tier for me. um
For me, they're high B.
okay, really.
I just well, okay.
I
Well,
guess you had a
my
different
point
experience
is,
because I kind of went in, I kind of maybe I
yeah,
metagamed it for you too much of like essentially saying, "Oh, we can't do any AoEs." Because let's be honest, like you bring Tempest and you do like one
yeah.
hailstorm, and like if that's buffed with Legacy, you've essentially lost the game
Well,
instantly.
for me, it was the fact that as long as you didn't bring AoE and you're like, okay, let's not hit her, you could just DPS everybody else and be completely fine. And the only caveat was you just don't keep hitting the damage button. I was like, and that you're like very like, oh, be careful. But I was like, yeah, I just don't hit her and then we win. And that was kind of how it went. Because like she needed a certain amount of like monsters in the deck, and then you beat her, and it wasn't that hard. I mean, I think we were using like the super team when we found it, like the meta team,
Right.
because we kind of blitzed a bunch. But from what I remember of her, it was very much a you just she's fragile, so you don't hit her. You hit everybody else, and then you win. So I think she was interesting, but I don't feel like she was like super unique. It just felt like she was a very weak boss with strong minions that you then have to kill. I I
I'll
could
put her
kind of
at
see A, but I feel like high B because I feel like she's in a similar bracket to Infinidor in my opinion.
all right. I'll put her a high B. I do think the game mechanics stands out to me as one of the not. You can't just DPS. Well, you can't DPS her, otherwise you lose. So
Yeah,
so I do give that.
we gotta. Yeah,
So I'm gonna put her to the top of B tier.
yeah, that's good. And then Ong
The
for
Anod. The
the
Anod. So I'm gonna put the Anod in S tier because it did get hand us quite a few losses. And
I wouldn't
but
say for
below
that.
below Citizen Don, but I would say S tier. That's
I
what's your counter?
for being a three, I think they actually deserve. Well, I think they deserve an S tier because I think that they are a series of multiple characters. They
Yes.
have good, interesting synergies, interesting
Yes.
abilities. Overall, very nice characters. They make you think a bit differently. They didn't really have a you have to switch up your style completely, but they made it so where you had to really focus. Kind of kept the you can hit them a lot, but you got to really strategize on how you hit them, and then hope that their cards don't proc, and then if they do, you have to work around another system. It was balanced. It was like in a
Yeah.
similar vein to Citizen Dawn, but like more like less more beefy enemies compared to like a bunch of weak ones.
I think
And that's
so.
fine.
I agree with that. I don't think there's a weak spot. I think you're almost forced to bring Raw in this battle because of the Nemesis system. And
Mhm.
what or if you don't bring Raw, you add more challenge to the game of like because I want to
I
say
think yeah.
I want to say Ra was clutch both on the defense as well as the offense because of the Nemesis system. Now, the only thing that for me that doesn't push her over Citizen Dawn is that Citizen Dawn's more iconic.
Mhm.
Um, but I honestly, for the Road to Oblivion series, the Anad dealt us more losses than anybody else.
I find it kind of funny because actually I think Warlord, not Warlord Boss,
Correct.
Warfang. She's the one that got us the most losses because of the Unity thing.
No, I
Um,
don't think so. I think it was a
no, she
nod.
got like we lost like two or three times, and a nod we lost like two
Well,
times.
I think the difference is I want to
He was
say,
our first loss though.
but
The Anad was
also
our first.
I would counter and say that a nod took longer to lose against. Well, Karag Warfang,
That's
we
true.
lost like 3 times over one episode,
That is
and
true.
a nod took us like 2 whole episodes of grinding out, and we squeaked out a win after like we lost once, and that was a whole episode. And then
Really?
another episode we pretty much played out and we
Yeah.
just squeaked by at the end of it. While Kerry Royfang was just like, nope, you didn't win because the win condition was this, and then but it was
Part
like
of
20
it.
minutes, and then we're like, well, let's get back in there, and then so I think we lost
Mhm.
more because we had more time to in an episode. That was my so, but
I'm kind of curious to what would happen if we went back with our new team because maybe the Anad wouldn't be as hard because we got guys and we got the whole new
that's
combo in
true.
there
That's true, but I
mainstay.
still feel like I feel Carrick Warfang now would not be working at all because we would know but
No,
I
not
do
Carrick. I just meant the Anad.
the Anad I think would still so much like Citizen Dawn, like I don't feel like you go in there and you're like you're gonna work for this. Even with our A team,
Hmm,
I think we would still work for it and we might lose
that's
somebody
fair.
or we're gonna all be single digit health kind of deal by the end of it. And I think
I
that's
just
an S tier villain that makes you're able to win, but so it's not broken as in like you can't beat them ever, but like you are going to work for it. So I don't know. I think the only reason Citizen Dawn's higher is just more iconic.
yeah. I like how our first lost and our last loss are both S tier.
Yeah, if you earned a loss, like your S or A tier, because Apostate we lost, Carrick
Well, I
Warframe we
mean,
lost. I think Misinformation did we lose, but that was early on when we were noobs.
yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, well, uh, Mr. Hypodermic Needle, I don't think we ever lost to, but we still put him. And we didn't
I
lose to the
lost to him
chairman.
a bunch of times. I don't think we
Yeah,
lost to him. Yeah,
no, we didn't lose to the chairman either in this one.
but moving on, the
Yeah,
matriarch. That's the Raven lady.
I wouldn't give her an A.
You would not give her an A. Okay.
She was interesting, but like she had like a bunch of birds, and the
Bird
birds
lady.
kind of had some combos. I would say high B, but like
I would
I
put her.
liked her
Go ahead.
more than Korag Warfane, and probably more than Infinitor.
More than Infinitor. Okay.
Yeah, because like her birds did have more have a good chunk of like difficulty to them, but it was literally just she, she just chucks bird seed on the ground, a bunch of birds show up, and then she like used sonic abilities through the birds, and then
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think also the other thing that made this battle easier for us is that we used Tachyon, who is her nemesis, and also Tachyon's got a great run around and hit everyone in the face for one, which really is like anti-crow of like she can run around and smack all the crows out of the air and negate with the +1 nemesis, damage to the main character. I think that without bringing Tachyon, we would have had a harder fight on our hands. But I do think she was fight. I do like her before, after Infinitor. But I feel like she's lower than the Dreamer. Um,
And B tier isn't bad though. These are like most for
yeah,
the
they
most
still
part.
play
B
them.
tier is
Yeah,
pretty solid. Yeah,
yeah, I would
I
recommend.
love.
I mean, I feel like the cutoff might be in the B tier, like almost if we were to split up
Honestly,
the
I would
tier, like
still
Baron
place.
Blade, Baron Blade on up, I think is solid gameplay. And I think below Baron Blade is like your mileage will vary. There'll be some good matches and some matches that are eh. And then down below are your mileage gets worse.
I think C tier is alright. Like I would redo one or two more times of the C tier, but I wouldn't like really care. It wouldn't be like something that I feel very
I feel that
compelling.
you could play C and D tier and still forget about them at the end of the day. While the other ones,
Probably,
B tier, you will
they're
remember.
memorable.
You
Oh
could,
yeah,
you'll have memory. Like I think Baron Blade up, you'll definitely remember them. uh Plague Rat down for the rest of the B tier is like you may remember a bit of them. Uh
honestly, looking at this tier list again, I think I might want to move Gaia down to top of C tier,
okay,
just because.
let's do it.
Like, I mean,
I'm
yeah,
fine with
I mean,
that.
like, I don't hate them. I just feel like they're less like they have a big HP pool, and I feel like it's in a similar vein to like
That's the only thing you
Link.
really remember, that and the environment. Like the rest of it
Yeah,
was not. I mean,
the Capitan just stay in B tier. It's fine. I like Capitan.
Wager Master.
Uh, we didn't get a lot to see through them, but I feel like they deserve a pretty decent rating because they were like the epitome of they just changed the game up on us. Like if you like, there's multiple lose conditions, and then they changed like the actual turn order of characters. And I feel like if we let the game go on more, could have gotten pretty like crazy. But like we like shut him down really fast. So I feel like for interesting game mechanics, he gets like a solid rank. Um, and just in general, I feel like he would be because he had a lot of interesting mechanics that from even the little we saw. So I would say he's high B tier. I'd say
High B tier. Okay, where?
maybe high mid. I would put him above at least. I would put him below Infinitor just because we didn't see very much of him. But I would like to fight him again. If he was a bit more tanky, I feel like he would be higher on the list. But he was just he's interesting mechanics, but he doesn't
He doesn't
take
have
very
time to
long to
develop them.
beat. Yeah.
I think I feel like he's a great character concept. He could be A tier character concept, but I think like
And again, this
I
is
wish
from
he either yeah, I feel like he takes a while to get going or a while and you can shut him down before that all happens. And I don't think you get the feel. I do like the thing where you're kind of like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, we're not playing your standard game. And I think that goes to his character design of like, that's kind of the thing. Like, he's all about gambling and he's changing the game that you're playing. So he's very memorable in that
I put
aspect.
him above Infinitor actually.
But I would keep him below Infinitor. I feel like that was, you got it right the first time because I think Infinitor is a better
Eh,
game to
mm,
play. And
yeah.
I I feel like Wager Master needs a tweak somehow. He either needs some cards that make you like make like, oh my god, what is going on? Like everyone gets everyone else's cards or something like crazy like that. Or
Oh
he
gosh.
needs like more HP to survive a little
Yeah.
bit longer to make his cards work. So I think he needs a tweak. He needs a just a tweak and then he would be I think he would be A tier if he had a little bit of a tweak. He's just within reach of that, but like like mechanic, he's got interesting mechanics, but they don't add up into being challenging. At least they
Mm.
weren't for us. And I feel like our last guy here, Iron Legacy, falls into the same.
F tier, true. Not
I
even
think he's
worth
A
mentioning.
tier. I think he's S tier character design. I just think he's too damn weak. Like they made.
He's the
I think they if they gave him more HP, because his powers start really mounting up very like the first round he does like 10 damage to everybody the first round. And then he's got all these like he's got all Legacy's powers up front. I think the biggest thing was that like his health pool and you check the card it's like 35 or something like that. Can you check it?
power. What was it?
What's his HP? 35 or something like.
Uh, I think it's like 40 something.
But I feel like when they designed him, and then they realized like I'm wondering if they designed him and then play testing, they were like, this guy's too hard. Like we made this guy unstoppable, and then they were like, well, if we drop his HP down to like under because he's old or whatever, then he's more manageable of a character. But I think the only reason we beat him is because his HP's low and we're able to
I
knock him
made a
out
new
quicker.
category below D. I call it the Iron L because
You
Iron Legacy is just so trash.
think he's that trash, huh?
He's what are you talking about? He's the easiest character to ever walk this earth. It's like they thought, hey, Baron Blade, he's like a hardcore character. So what we should do is we should make somebody that punches so weakly that he hurts himself. And then they thought, hey, let's make the Iron L. And then that's where you get it.
Wow, you're really hating on him. I
I
guess
mean,
you're.
look at him.
Ah, damn.
He's Omni Man without a mustache. And without the mustache, what is he really? He's nothing.
So where do you
He's
put
the
him?
Iron L. I put him in. I literally have a category under D called the Iron L.
Okay, but if you had to give him a actual grade that we started off with, what would you give him?
Somewhere like dead in the middle of B tier, to be honest.
Middle of B tier.
That's why it's like somewhere like I
I'm gonna
just
throw him in front
didn't
of
like he was
Omnitron or the.
kind of he was strong, but yeah, like that's kind of where I was thinking. But he was strong, but he was also just kind of boring. Like he punched hard and he was hard to hit, and then nothing else. Very one note, which
I
is okay, but like
I think
it,
that if
one
you,
note.
yeah, like I don't know. I think
Glass cannon.
he is a glass.
One
He is. That's it. That's it right there. He is the definition of glass cannon. I think he has the ability to really steamroll you, but like most people that have figured out that DPS to win is the way to go are not gonna have a problem with it at all because that's what you do. Because and I think they created him much harder and then they tweaked him down, be like up, and then they just kind of went we can't balance this guy any better. He's either going to be impossible to beat or and I wonder if you played Iron Legacy on like advanced mode or like hardest difficulty, that does he become like ridiculously unmanageable? I don't know. What do you think?
Huh. Uh, all I know is that you told me he was going to be this insanely difficult boss. I was
I
like,
probably hyped him up a little too much.
oh no, yeah, you. I remember you were hyping him up for like ever.
Yeah, for like
Like,
a solid month every week I was like, "Oh, Iron
yeah,
Legacy, Iron
just don't get
Legacy."
Iron Legacy. And then I was like, if we get Iron Legacy and we beat him first try, I'm never gonna let you live that down. And so now
And you
that I
did.
placed him in the dead center of B, I'm gonna put him back at the bottom in Iron L on my stream,
So,
right where he belongs, because he took the Iron L. He gets the Iron L treatment.
yeah, I I do think he does get an A for amount of unique dialogue with various different characters. Because like I think he has in the beginning he has unique dialogue with Tachyon, unique dialogue with Legacy. Like I feel like there's a lot of characters he'll get unique dialogue because he was part of essentially the Justice League. He
He was
the
Omni Man.
he was Omni-Man Senior, and then like yeah, and then you got Legacy of the Sun. Yeah, like he's definitely got that. I was the first Homelander, kind of deal. Like yeah, he's definitely got that going on. So all right, this is our list. What do you think? What do you think?
I think it's pretty reasonable. Things might get tweaked. If we ever do some run backs with some of these characters, because again, like we fought them until we beat them, and some of them we beat first try very easily, and
Right.
so we just kind of and we didn't go bother going back. So I feel like that has a pretty good impact on our decisions. So, for example, Point Break, where she's just like we didn't really fight her. She was kind of there.
You mean choke point?
Choke Point. I'm tired,
Exactly.
and
You're
I don't
like,
have the name.
yeah,
It's
that person.
Magneto.
Um, uh, I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of character. Well, I don't know. Like, if we beat him early before we learn the game very well, and then now that we've won the game, like we've done so well in the game, I don't know. Um,
Because we would just steamroll them even. I guess like it
if
would
you
be
steam, if
if
you
we combine
steamload,
our worst team.
yeah, if you steamroll them now, like I guess, like what's to stop you from steamrolling them later? I don't know. Someone's getting sleepy.
Oh, I'm so tired. We've completed our
But
tier list though.
we have.
Nice.
So I want to thank everyone for listening in and watching. This is our villain tier list. I think it's the last tier list. I don't know if we're gonna do an environment one. I mean, if there's a huge outcry, do environment one.
No.
But I don't think um, we really haven't been playing with a focus of the environment. However, there's some environments that are just painful and some of them aren't. I mean, I guess that's just the same as everything. But yeah, so next Wednesday we'll do an Oblivion run during
Mm.
the day. We'll see how that goes. Time to be determined. But yeah, I put a link in the chat. Feel free to donate to Extra Life. Help sick kids during their hospital stays. Click on the link. Find a team member's hospital that they represent, and feel free to donate. This is Coinless. That's joined us through this entire thing, and I appreciate that. I think yeah, you missed way like one episode, but we
Is
can
the
see the fit
variant.
as a variant. And then yeah, so we'll do Oblivion run, so that'll be interesting. And so yeah, it's Coinless joined us and tonight, and it's Eric, and we won't do it this time again. Um,
Yeah.
Uh,
Until next time, and possibly the last time
oh
on
my God, you
Sentinels
think
of the
you think?
Multiverse.
Let's put our bets down and let's mark them in
Possibly
time.
the last time.
Do you think we beat him with our S tier team?
If we get good draws and we actually pay attention to how their mechanics work, maybe.
So
I say with literally having the experience of fighting every single boss and using every single character and using almost every single environment, we stand a significantly better chance than we did when we first started playing this game.
I think that's true. I think all that's very true. I mean, we've played every single boss. We've played every single environment. I don't think we've won in every single environment. We haven't got that
No,
achievement yet. But we've played in every single environment.
more
I think what I anticipate happening is we're gonna play our S tier team, and we're gonna lose the first run because we're learning the Oblivion mechanic, not because like our team's bad, but we're gonna be like, oh no, we need to hit this guy first, not this guy first. So like I think that's gonna be, and then I think the second playthrough, I think we're actually gonna win because we're gonna use our S tier team, but know like what order to hit people in or what the like when is the glass jaw visible, that kind of thing. I think
I
that's what's
think
gonna. I think we're gonna lose a game figuring out how to beat like when does
yeah, I
Oblivion
think the
reveal himself?
worst comes to worst, we're gonna lose 3 times because for each stage we might have to relearn his mechanics. That's a maybe though.
Oh, you think it's gonna be completely like, oh yeah, you got to the
Like the
first
worst would
level.
be we lose every mechanic, yeah. Because
So,
he has 3 forms, so we might lose once on each form to learn by learning his mechanics. But I wouldn't. I bet max 3. We wouldn't pass 3 fails because we haven't passed 3 fails for anybody yet. I don't think at least. Like
I don't think three.
Warfang, yeah,
Warfang. No, I think Warfang and Anod we won
yeah,
on the third one.
yeah, and we don't count Unity losses anyway. So
Oh well, there you go. Then yes, we haven't got to three without figuring it out, and a lot of the yeah. So I think that'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting too to see if the mechanics lend themselves to you bringing different heroes. I think that'd be the other thing too of like it's an S tier team, but because of this mechanic, like the Dreamer is like you can't use AoE because you'll hurt like the mechanic prevents you from bringing an AoE person. So I could see ourselves getting in one of those things where you're like, oh, we brought
if
the
it's
wrong hero. Like there's still an S tier hero, but it's the wrong situation for him. So, but we'll see.
that's the only circumstance where I can see us like getting blitzed is if they just have a really dumb mechanic. If it's
I
like
don't think we're gonna
simple,
get
I
blitzed.
think we have a good chance.
I don't think we're gonna get blitzed. I think what's gonna happen too. I don't think we're gonna get blitzed, but it's gonna be like, we did like 40 damage and it's of a 200, like 200. So it's going to be like, okay, this worked, but we just need to repeat this high level damage for another 3 or 4 rounds. And that's the tough part. Like, um, that we become the glass cannon a little bit of like, we can deal a lot of damage, but we can't keep the pain coming. So, but we'll find out. But that's what's in the record. So we'll go with it. Anyways, Uh, we'll we'll say bye for now, and we look forward to next Wednesday.
Until next time.
Yeah. Your outro.
I already did it earlier.
No, 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 you gotta. Next time on
Until
Sentinels.
next time on Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Yeah, we're all gonna miss that. I know. I know. All
Uh,
right, guys. Take care.
I didn't start that until like halfway in, like the our games.
Yeah, but now it's a thing. It's officially a thing. All right. Good night, everyone.
Uh,